In Washington, D.C. Well, oil prices are course sensitive at the best of times. Let's get some energy industry insight now and look at where this could all maybe head next. Stephen Shawk's behind the energy trading newsletter, The Shawk Report. He's with us now. Mr. Shawk, hi there. If an armed conflict does break out, how will that reverberate through the energy industry and the global economy?
Well, indeed, if we do see armed conflict because of the situation now, you have to think that oil prices are going to jump substantially higher, at least in the interim. And so then we have to start to look at the risk and the reward. What is Iran trying to get? What is their reward? Well, apparently they want to build a nuclear weapon. That's their reward. Now, the risk they are taking to meet that end simply does not justify the reward. So obviously, right now, I think Washington is correct. I think Iran's in a situation, they've boxed themselves in, and I think they are bluffing. Simply, they cannot afford not to sell their oil to the world market.
It's a dangerous game of bluff, though, isn't it? I mean, which side do you think will suffer the most from a confrontation if it did kick off? Is it possible that some countries could even benefit from it?
Well, I think the other producing countries would certainly benefit with the loss of any sort of production out of Iran. Keep in mind, Iran, like many natural resource producing countries, only derives its revenue from one source, and that's the sale of oil. So if Iran cannot get its oil to the world market, it cannot get petrodollars in. And keep in mind, Iran lacks the refining capacity to maximize its own oil production. It cannot refine oil to sate its domestic demand. So if Iran continues on this path, they will isolate themselves. They will not have access to foreign capital. They will not have access to enough refined product. It creates a template for civil arrest within the country. Again, the reward of a nuclear program does not justify the immense risk that the leaders in Iran are playing out right now.
Of course, another scenario here, if there's no conflict and the EU and US sanctions on Iran go on as planned, surely crippling one of the world's major oil exporters is going to affect the market somehow that way.
Indeed, but we have to keep in mind that there is there is supply in the form of floating storage here in the United States. The state of North Dakota is producing almost as much oil as Ecuador.
But hang on, our last guest said it was only about 100 days. What's your take on how much is stored up then?
Oh, the reserves are not. The reserves are just a temporary fix at this point. So that's not the answer. The other Gulf states, the other non-OPEC producing countries are likely and more than willing to step up and benefit from any loss of Iranian barrels.
Okay, well, Saudi Arabia, or a Saudi official at least recently, has said that other Gulf producers, as you're saying, can offset any loss of oil from a blockade of the Hormuz Strait using alternative routes. What alternative routes are there if it's not out by the sea?
No, let's be careful here. They can produce, and this is the threat. So the threat is not the production of Iranian oil, or even the loss of Iranian oil. The direct threat is the transportation and distribution of oil out of that region. Outside of shipping it through tankers, there is inadequate pipeline space. Quite frankly, I've been studying it. I do not know how you get this oil out of the Middle East. This is why it is such a risky proposition that it's a high-stakes game of chicken at this point. I simply don't know how they could get it out if the Strait is blocked.
It's been really good to have you on the programme to so clearly put all those scenarios to us. Stephen Shawk from the energy trading newsletter, The Shawk Report. Thanks for being on RT.
Thank you.